The year is 2005, and in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, a cop deserts his post because he has to shoot a dog. His partner screams into the sound of screeching cop car wheels. "No, Charlie!" Cut to 2 years later, and the non-Charlie cop is dancing in his kitchen as he makes a fried shrimp po' boy from scratch, as we all do every lunchtime. Or perhaps he's reconstructing one that he bought and just dropped on the floor. Either way, his lunch is interrupted as he has to jump through an open window to apprehend a plant thief, a young scamp known to the non-Charlie cop. What's the kid stealing?
Trees, shrubs. People got a landscape.
Kids these days, eh? The cop lets it go after delivering a weird mini lecture about plant names, and then we get the line. You know what it is, the cardinal sin. The one that everyone in New Orleans knows and hates. Committed right here in broad daylight.
How your mom and them doing?
They alright.
Alright. Till I be around there Saturday for the gumbo party. Now go on, get out of here.
To be clear, no one has ever said gumbo party. We're 3 minutes into the show and the writers have already forsaken us. Oh well. A cute neighbour rolls up in a new car and we learn that she's a singer. She's too happy, you guys. I really suspect imminent tragedy here. Meanwhile, just outside town, a clean-cut white boy with a vintage Airstreamer and a dream looks wistfully at the city skyline. Cut to police headquarters. Our cop, name of Marlin Boulay, is about to meet his new partner from up north, which is said with impressive incredulity. You've guessed it, it's Mr. Vintage Airstream himself, name of Trevor Cobb. Report to duty, you guys. You're both covering something called a French Quarter benefit for the 9th Ward. Bourbon Street. Boulay is getting through his shift downing cocktails at the bar as his neighbour wails theatrically on the stage. Cobb doesn't drink on duty, so basically he's never going to make it in the New Orleans Police Department. A blonde lady gets on stage, and this is the entirety of her speech.
Build the 9th Ward and bring people home. Most importantly, we're gonna bring back hope.
Okay, she's definitely a scammer. Anyway, great speech. Back to the band. Cobb has an instant glad eye for Blondie, but Boulay warns him off. Apparently she's the daughter of the casino owner, Rex Dubois. Boulay says, with consummate charm,
I had to make more than $29K a year to pluck that flower.
It's always the horticulture motifs with this guy. But stop all thoughts of romance. A gunman enters and shoots the singer. He flees, and the next few minutes are a chaotic blur of incoherence. Cobb and Boulay run out to Bourbon Street, firing indiscriminately. Then, 2 seconds later, we're in speeding cars. Under a bridge, way out of town, cop cars everywhere, close-ups of the drivers. There is literally no sense of geography. We somehow end up inside the casino, with a car rolled right outside the premises. It's incredibly disorienting, but cue opening credits. Yes, all of that so far, including the gumbo party, were just a lead up to the opening credits, setting the scene. Anyway, the neighbour is now in hospital, the local newscaster calling her a local jazz celebrity. She's reporting from inside the crime scene, and Boulay just picks her up and carries her off, with some great community policing there. A cop brings out a bag of worms, yes, you heard me, worms, that they just found in the singer's dressing room. Is that how musicians get high these days? Or is that just a really low-rent calling card?
Worms?
Boulay gets mad as they explain that the singer's ex, a ne'er-do-well called Tommy K-Ville, is a fisherman. Hey, he has access to worms, probably. Boulay storms off as his colleague yells out the news that the singer has died. Listen, I knew it was bad news as soon as she pulled up in that shiny new car, smiling. Anyway, some sad piano music plays, allowing us to mourn.
I didn't even know she was dead! Not too cold!
Cut to Boulay repeatedly dunking a tied-up K-Ville in the dock from a pulley system as he protests his innocence. Your tax dollars at work, New Orleans. K-Ville swears up and down that he's been fishing for 2 days and sold his haul to, quote, some guy in West Wego. Boulay doesn't think it's a watertight alibi and just kind of leaves the suspect underwater for a while so he can think it over. As we cut away, we can only assume that he frees K-Ville after this extrajudicial frontier justice situation, but who knows? All we do know is that Boulay is a maverick and that he loves plant life. After that dockside dunking and reporting back, the chief says NOPD has, quote, sent some guys to the fish market, which sounds like a really reasonable use of resources. Cobb Boulay are assigned to the redo of the music benefit, backed up by a bunch of harbour cops. The fresh blood has presumably been wiped off the stage for the shindig this time. Then a twist. Charlie, the unwilling dog assassin, just kind of turns up in the background, saying he's secretly kept hold of his police radio, the little rapscallion, and he's been, quote, listening in like an addict. A police radio addict. Anyway, Charlie wants back into the force. Marlin is not keen to help. They kind of argue through a chain link fence, which makes for some very weird framing. Sad music again, whispered regrets. Seems Charlie wore his best suit for nothing. Marlin sees his displaced wife and his young daughter, who are just back from Atlanta to collect some things. He tells his kid that she'll shoot up like a cypress. This guy truly has a tree metaphor for every occasion. Cut 2. Dixieland Jazz at Benefit 2 Gangster Bait Boogaloo. Blondie is telling a reporter that it's what the dead singer would have wanted, which seems like a leap less than 24 hours after her being murdered, but anyway. We learn that Blondie's brother was murdered some years ago, and then Marlin gets a text to say that Tommy K-Ville was out shrimping, so all that waterboarding was completely unnecessary. Oh well. He orders his usual shift bourbon. You'll never guess what happens next. The event is sprayed with automatic gunfire, explosions everywhere. These benefits are an absolute war zone, you should probably stop having them. The harbour cops are nowhere to be seen, and despite hundreds of bullets and a car going up in flames, nobody's hurt. Thank the jazz gods. The cop hive mind thinks that the bring back the ninth folks could be dodgy, and that the casino is hiding something. The game's afoot, everybody. Charlie turns up on the street again like a spurned lover, but he's got a huge file for Marlin with information on the casino security guards. It's quite unclear how he got this. I guess he's just doing some casual cop work in his spare time for free. Cut 2, Blondie and her dad's mansion. The dad wants all the benefits to stop, and really who can blame him? So far they've resulted in 1 death and 1 Michael Bay level festival of street carnage. Maybe do a GoFundMe next time. Cut 2, Marlin and his wife getting romantic by the fireplace, but wait! A huge torrent of water gushes down the stairs, and Marlin has to grab his terrified kid from a deluge. Someone set a fire hose directly into his attic. Apparently very easy to do on an open street without making any kind of noise. It's a warning, Marlin. Cobb and Boulay crack some heads down at the casino and drag in the manager. The chief is not impressed. He needs more proof. There's more loose ends than a whorehouse here, he yells, bafflingly. Cobb and Boulay get into uniform for some reason and hit the streets. Marlin yells that he needs some gumbo. Gumbo, it's what I do when I need to think. Drive to Ziggy's, they have the best sauces there, he says. This show is completely in the pocket of Big Gumbo, honestly. We never do get to the gumbo, and instead Marlin takes Trev to a bridge and beats him up. In a bout of unhinged paranoia, he wants to know, at gunpoint, how Cobb knows the city so well. How do you know about Ziggy's? The gumbo was a trap. Cobb just says he's been here a lot, and that kind of clears it up. Presumably that makes for a pretty tense workday, but they go about their shift. Boulay, driven by a conspiracy angle, does some Zillow research on who's buying property and visits a woman who's a former realtor, and it's kind of implied that they're former lovers. Either way, she now works in a voodoo shop. You know you're white, right? Says Cobb, not unreasonably. While she thinks on that, they have a whiskey, and she tells him it's the Dubois Casino dynasty purchasing all the land, so she obviously keeps her hand in the housing business in between tarot readings. Boulay and Cobb confront Blondie and her dad, accusing them of sabotaging their own jazz benefits in order to stall renovations and keep Ninth Ward property prices low so they can snap it all up. Marlin slaps down a raft of paper evidence and Blondie cracks, saying she was doing it all for her murdered brother. It turns out that she's a massive racist. Her brother died in a mugging, and so now all of Black New Orleans must suffer. They're cuffing her as bullets fly through the window. It's the casino manager. What follows is like a whole Die Hard episode in 2 minutes, with more incomprehensible car chases, Charlie turning up, I guess they never did get that radio back, and a waiting escape helicopter that they stop by attaching a random chain to. The cavalry arrive, Cobb saves Charlie from a sinking car. It's a whirlwind of nonsense. The bad guys caught, our cops make friends again. Cobb admits that he was raised in New Orleans East and that he was a former prisoner in Orleans Parish Prison. Seems like that would have come up before, say in his interview for the police force, but he says that the computer records were lost, so all good I guess. Marlin asks Cobb, "Want to go and get that gumbo?" And scene. And that, my friends, is all the story of the pilot of K-Ville. Justice, cancellations after just one season, and gumbo parties for everybody. Let the good times roll, and I'll see you next time.